Hello and welcome to the Retirement Money Show. So, someone reached out to me recently about their retirement situation and they had one major worry. Do you know what it was? Well, they were 68, had £400,000 in their pension, and they were terrified of spending it. The parents had died with almost nothing and they didn't want the same regret. So, if you've saved diligently for decades but feel guilty every time you spend, this video is going to be for you. Because if you get this balance wrong and you either run out of money or die with a fortune you never enjoyed. So in this video, I'm going to explain the die with zero philosophy and for you to think about whether it might be right for you. So I'm going to cover 4 key areas. 1, what die with zero actually means and why I think it's misunderstood. Number 2, when this philosophy works well and who it is likely to suit. Number 3, when it absolutely doesn't work, including care costs and longevity, which is basically how long you're going to live. And number 4 is how to figure out what's right for your situation. So by the end, you'll understand the real thinking behind this approach. You'll know if it applies to you or if you should ignore it completely. And you'll have a framework to decide how much permission to give yourself to spend. So my name's Dr. Sain. I've got over 25 years experience of helping people plan for their retirement. I want to start by clearing up what might be a misunderstanding first. And that is die with zero doesn't mean to blow and spend all your money and just hope for the best. It's actually about not dying with a fortune you were basically too scared to enjoy or spend in retirement. And the idea itself comes from a guy called Bill Perkins, who wrote a book with this title. And his point, I think, is simple, but really, really powerful. That is, obviously, money has no value to you personally once you are dead. So every pound that you die with is a pound you worked for, but never used. So here's what shocked me when I actually looked at the research. And that is BlackRock found most retirees still have 80% of their savings after nearly 20 years. 80%, that's shocking. So that's not careful planning, that's fear stopping people from living. Likewise, research from Aegon, the insurer, shows that 26% of UK adults feel anxiety about spending their retirement savings. Another 18% feel outright fear and 15% feel guilt. So the philosophy isn't about reckless with money, it's about breaking the mindset that made you a good saver but a terrible spender. You see, you save for decades so you can enjoy retirement, not so you could hoard it. But does this mean you should actually try to spend everything? Well, that clearly depends on your situation, which I'm going to cover next. So when does spending aggressively actually make sense? Well, in my mind, there are specific conditions where giving yourself permission to spend is the right call. So first, you need guaranteed income, and that covers your essentials. So for a couple, state pension alone gives you around £25,000 a year, just a bit over that from April 2026. What that does is it covers your basic living cost, your pension pot becomes bonus money. So you're not risking homelessness by spending it on experiences and enjoyment. Second, you need to own your home outright with no mortgage or rent. See, housing is the biggest expense that can derail retirement spending plans completely. So without that cost, your essential spending drops dramatically. Third is you need to be in reasonably good health in your 60s and early 70s. And this is something I call the go-go phase. So if you've not seen that video, I'd recommend you go and have a look at it. But the go-go phase is when you actually enjoy travel and experiences, because research shows spending naturally drops as you age into your 80s. That's obviously because you physically can't do as much, so you naturally spend less. Number 4, you either have no dependents or have already helped them out. So if you're not planning to leave a large inheritance, spending makes more sense. So if you tick all 4 boxes, you might actually be holding back for no good reason. But there are some serious situations where this philosophy completely does fall apart, and we'll look at that next. So now here's where I'm going to be really, really direct with you. And that is, there are situations where trying to spend down your savings is genuinely dangerous. And the biggest one is care costs, and I can't stress this enough. The average care home in the UK costs around £52,000 a year, and that is an exceedingly high amount which people don't always plan for. And for nursing care, you're looking at potentially £75,000 or more annually. And here's the thing that nobody really wants to hear, and that is you could need care for 10 years or you could only need it for 2. So if you spent your pot down to nothing, well, who's going to pay for that care? Then there's something called longevity uncertainty. So longevity is basically how long you're going to live. A 65-year-old woman today has a 1 in 4 chance of living to 94, and a man has a 1 in 4 chance of reaching 91. So you might live decades longer than you expect, and you still need money at the age of 90. And if you're renting or have a mortgage, well, this philosophy also becomes really, really risky. Housing costs don't disappear, and they often increase with inflation. So if your state pension doesn't cover rent, you need that pot to survive. And of course, if you want to leave money to your children or your grandchildren, that's valid too. So despite the 2027 inheritance tax changes that are upcoming, many people still prioritise a legacy. And we have got other videos on the 2027 inheritance tax changes. So I recommend you do watch those as well, so you can understand what interaction they're going to have with your pension pot in the future. But the die with zero approach assumes you can predict your death rate. And obviously, since you can't, you need buffers for care, for longevity, and of course, the unexpected. How do you actually figure out where you sit on this spectrum? Because it's not about choosing to spend everything or to spend nothing. It is about balance. So start by working out your essential spending as a couple. You know, what do you actually need each year for your bills, for your food, and your basic living costs? And the state pension covers that. Your pension pot is generally discretionary money. Then think about your care cost buffer. Something many people don't think about, unfortunately, until it's too late. And in my experience, a reasonable approach is keeping between £100,000 to £150,000 as a care fund, and that gives you 2 to 3 years of care, home costs if you ever need it, or even for living care or even care at home. So your home is also an asset that could fund care if necessary. Then consider your health and family history and think about this honestly. So if your parents lived into their 90s, plan for the same. And if health issues run in your family, factor earlier care needs. Now, the middle ground works for most people, and that is to spend more freely on experiences in your 60s and 70s when you can enjoy them, but to keep a buffer for care and for longevity. But don't let fear stop you living. You know, the goal isn't to die with zero or to die with millions. In my opinion, it's to die with no regrets. So next, I'm going to give you 5 practical action steps that you can take to put all this into practice. Now, here's what I recommend you do next. Number 1 is to calculate your guaranteed income from a state pension and any defined benefit schemes or any pension pots that you've got. Now check your state pension forecast at gov.uk to see what you're actually going to receive from the state. And if this covers your essentials, your pension pot is generally extra money for living. And if you're not sure how much money you like need in retirement, again, have a look at our channel. We've got lots of other videos that cover this issue specifically. Number 2 is to work out your care cost buffer based on your health and your family history. As I said, 100 to 150,000 is probably a reasonable target for most people. Remember, this could be each as well. Remember, your home is also an asset that can be used to fund care if needed. Number 3 is to create what I call a permission budget, and that's for experiences and enjoyment. So this is money you actively plan to spend, not money that you're hoarding out of fear. So think about trips, hobbies, time with family, basically things that are going to help bring you joy. Number 4, well, review your spending annually against your pot size. So the 4% rule suggests taking 4% of your pot roughly for 30 years, and that gives you a level of sustainable income. And again, have a look at this channel. We've got some videos that talk about the 4% rule to help you think about whether that rate of withdrawal is likely to be right for your circumstances or not. Because remember, if you're barely touching your savings, you've got to ask yourself why. And then number 5 is consider what's called a cash flow forecast, and do this with a financial planner or an advisor. So seeing your numbers mapped out over 30 years can give you genuine reassurance. It shows you exactly what you can afford to spend without running out of money. So for more guidance on retirement planning, you can visit our website, financialeducation.co.uk. That's where I break down a number of the options in detail. Finally, if you did like the video, please do like and subscribe to our channel, where we have lots of content related to retirement planning and helping you get to that point and beyond of retirement. So finally, good luck and goodbye.